Welcome to the show, everybody. Joseph Robert, the fantasy football counselor. We are talking about fantasy football, wide receiver sleepers, and guys that could break into the top 10 going into 2020 fantasy football. Huge episode in the studio with the bald guy.
Hi, everybody.
Huge episode. Are you excited, Tim?
I am. You know what, though? Wide receivers are so much harder than running backs.
No, so much easier. We're going to talk about that. We're going to debate coming up. Let's get to it.
So you wanna go hard? So you wanna be the greatest? Your life is a fantasy, and it's all for the taking. Cause this time is now, and I gotta get it. I'm a beast, I'm a freak when it comes to winning. Eyes on the prize like it's television. All room, no bus, no room, your flesh. So you wanna go hard?
Welcome to the show, Tim. How cool is our new intro? Do you like that?
I do. I think it's awesome.
Pretty bad. We're lion mentality here with Counselor Nation. I'm excited, and we are talking about fantasy football sleepers, wide receivers that could crack the top 10.
Do it again. Do the crack.
I'm going to crack you in the head is what I'm going to do.
I'm going to crack you one.
So I'm excited, Tim. We're talking wide receivers. And I got to tell you, for 2020 fantasy football, the wide receiver pool is deep this year.
And a lot of good incoming rookies.
And we're talking pre-draft. I mean, when these NFL rookies come in that are wide receivers that are, Jerry Jeudy, guys like that, Ruggs, it's going to be super exciting because we're going to see where they're going to land, and then there could be an immediate fantasy football impact predicated on where they land. I'm excited.
Yeah. Now, I'm normally not excited about rookie wide receivers coming in because it's very hard for them to reach a pinnacle number.
Right.
Like the only guys who really, Michael Thomas is one that kind of stands out. Other than that, it's really hard to be a big name in the first year.
Yeah.
But you can still make a good difference, you can still put up some good points, but really reaching the pinnacle, no.
I'm excited, man, and there could be some really shiny gems you can get later that people will be sleeping on that could crack the top 10. But we're not going to talk about rookies right now. We're talking about guys from last year that could crack the top 10. But before we do that, let's recap last year's top finishers. You know who they are, so we're not going to spend too much time on them in PPR. And I'm not going to go over the consensus rankings because, again, the copy and paste, we don't do that here. But let's talk about it. Michael Thomas, amazing year, 374 fantasy points, number one wide receiver last year. A lot of that comes from the great quarterback throwing on the ball, but it's a targets. Once you get a lot of targets, you're going to get a lot of receptions. And once you get a lot of receptions, it's going to convert to fantasy points. So that's what I like about Michael Thomas. He was the most targeted receiver with 185 targets and 149 receptions. Number one in receptions and targets. It's very hard to top when it comes to getting that much volume.
Which also gave him a high percentage of catches. He was at 80.5%. That's pretty huge.
He's a great receiver, right? So he finished number one. Following in number two from a fantasy point perspective was Chris Godwin, great season, followed by Julio Jones, Cooper Kupp, DeAndre Hopkins, Keenan Allen, believe it or not, had a good season, pretty decent. He stayed healthy. Julian Edelman coming in, Allen Robinson, Kenny Galladay, guy I was really high on, cracked the top 10, and Amari Cooper to round that out. Surprisingly, honorable mention finished 11th and was a big sleeper last year. Davante Parker finishing 11th there.
Yep.
So I saw the upside with Parker, but man, I didn't expect 11th. That was pretty impressive there. So Tim, you've got a list here of players that could crack the top 10.
So when we did the intro, I said wide receivers are so much harder to gauge, and you disagree.
I mean, you just said just harder in general to study or something. I didn't understand what you mean.
Okay,
I guess to gauge, there's some volatility there.
The point differentiation between the 10th finisher and the 24th is only 34 points. That is not hard to get, So it's very easy to move up and down, and that's what I'm talking about. It's very easy for a guy to just add 5-10 points and jump like 3-4 spots in some cases. So that's why I say it's kind of hard. The only guy I really see dropping off of this one is Galladay.
Galladay?
He's the only one that I could see easily dropping off.
I can see him moving up.
His catch percentage is horrible. 56%.
Okay, can we just give Kenny Galladay a little bit of credit? He had like 10 different quarterbacks throwing him the ball, and they weren't Matt Stafford. So Matt Stafford coming back healthy. I think the chemistry gets better. I think he has a better year this year. I really do.
I hope so. But I mean, that 56% sticks out to me. 11 touchdowns as well, which is really good on such a, low number of receptions there.
I like him. I like Galladay. So who can crack the top 10?
Of course, there's a bunch. Mike Evans finished 15th with only 13 games.
Right.
He could easily do it. Davante Adams, full 16 games, should easily crack the top 10.
Yeah, Adams I like this year. I think people will be sleeping on him.
I know you like this one. Deebo Samuel, currently sitting, I think, 43rd or 40th on the Concheapsis rankings. People will be sleeping on Deebo. He's a great receiver. Not just that, he was actually used I don't want to say a lot as a rusher, but he was used as a running back.
Out of the backfield, running the ball.
And he actually put up 30 points from rushing. So
he's good.
If that continued on, that's a nice little bump in his numbers as well. And of course, you've got to give a nod to Juju. I mean, he sucked bad last year.
That was Big Ben. Yep, that was a Big Ben thing. So that's probably the reason.
Yeah, so he's a guy that could easily move up. And if his value is low, you'd be nuts not to grab Juju.
Right.
Another guy that I actually slept on myself, I wasn't even thinking of him, and I know you don't like him, and the whole situation last year, Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill's good. He should definitely be in the top 10.
Yeah, he can easily do it. He's on such an amazing offensive team. There's no problem there.
I hesitated there because I just got to think. I'm just thinking about this whole situation there. Is he going to get the volume next year? Is Hardman going to be more of a factor? That's a bit of a concern. They might spread the ball around more, but Tyreek Hill should be safe and solid. And then you've got all the suspension stuff he's been a suspect player off field. Is that going to affect him? So when you said Tyreek, I just kind of thought about it. Not a guy I trust. I don't know what it is as a wide receiver one.
And that's probably why I didn't really think of him. I just actually added him right before the show. I was like, oh my God, Tyreek Hill. How did I miss him?
Right. And he fell off last year because of his injury. And that's why he finished 32nd amongst wide receivers. And again, I want to see more volume. So I'm hesitant. 89 targets. And again, part of that is because of the injury. So let's say the injury wasn't there. He would have had averaging around, pacing at 120 total targets.
Which is,
it's okay. I need a huge volume getter. And I think Tyreek will be considered an earlier draft pick, but I don't know if I trust him. So yeah, but he could definitely crack the top 10.
That's really all I got, man. I mean,
really?
like I say, there's so many guys you could make a case for because it's so easy to jump positions, but those are my guys.
I'm going to reach here a little bit on some of these guys, but these guys could definitely crack the top 10. All right. Cortland Sutton. What do you think? We met Drew Lock at the NFL draft. By the way, we're going to be at the NFL draft in Vegas. So make sure you guys hit us up on my Instagram at Fantasy Football Counselor, my DM with the title Vegas, so I know, and maybe we can meet up. We're going to be everywhere.
We got some things cooking that we're not talking about yet. But I mean, there's definitely some potential to meet up, especially with some of the people we already know. So
definitely. It's going to be exciting. So Cortland Sutton, Lock could be a connection. Finished 19th in PPR, so he could definitely crack the top 10. A.J. Brown finished 21st amongst wide receivers. Not that exciting, bit of a long shot here, but if he gets in the groove, you never know, right? Michael Gallup, depends on what happens with Amari Cooper. If he stays, if he goes, Gallup could be a primary target, finishing 22nd amongst wide receivers last season. Could get a nice rise. Davante Adams, I definitely agree, man. He just had a terrible season, and a lot of that is because they did focus on the run. That is why Aaron Jones thrived, because Adams was hurt for a majority of the season, missed about 4 games. And I just think, I don't know what it was, man. Rodgers wasn't Rodgers last year. I don't know what it was. It's just he wasn't jiving, wasn't grooving with. Does anyone even use that word anymore? Jiving? I don't even.
Jive ass turkey.
I don't know. It just came to me. Davante Adams, definitely a guy's going to crack the top 10. Calvin Ridley, I think a lot of people are going to be sleeping on him. I think he's a great receiver. What do you mean?
I cannot say anybody would sleep on him, but I mean the combination with him and Julio Jones. And we, like last year, there was 1 week Calvin would be the big guy. Next week it was Julio. So I can't say anybody would sleep on him, and I don't see his share increasing that much.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a long shot because the year before he had 10 touchdowns, 821 yards, finished 22nd. So yeah, it is a bit of a long shot. That was in 2018. 2019 had a bit of a, not as good of a season, actually.
Don't get me wrong. He's a great receiver. I just don't know if he's got enough there with Julio being there to crack that top 10. But, still a great pickup. That's
another issue. The Chiefs currently have Mike Evans and Godwin in the top 10. And I just hate when you have 2 receivers
on the same team
that finished pretty much top 10 the year before cracking the top 10. That's a big issue for me because, with the Winston situation, he may not be there. New quarterback, I don't know what's going to happen there with the quarterback situation. Is the running game going to be enough to take the load off and the pressure off the receivers? It's this whole suspect situation with Tampa right now. To have them both sitting in top 10 is a little suspect for me. I think one of them happens. It's really one of them cracks it. We don't know who, but it is really weird that Evans is technically the wide receiver 1 and Godwin finished ahead of him last season. So very interesting. Yep. So Evans finished out of the top 10, but may crack the top 10 this year. Another guy, this is a very big long shot. There's 2 long shots here, but you never know. And this is what I'm talking about. When we talk about fantasy football wide receiver sleepers, I mean, these guys have the ceiling. Terry McLaurin finished 29th last year amongst wide receivers. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens with him. 919 receiving yards, 93 targets for 58 receptions. That's pretty impressive. So Terry McLaurin, a guy you may want to consider to get him. And again, we don't know where he's going to be falling. Maybe 6th, 7th round. Ton of upside, especially if there's going to be a quarterback battle there. If they acquire a new quarterback, rookie, him, Haskins. Very interesting. Going to be a high upside situation.
Yeah, needs to be targeted a little more. The TD numbers are pretty damn good, so just more targets.
And total long shot here, but I'm going to throw this out here. A lot of people might roll their eyes and raise their eyebrows, but bit of a long shot. I mean, to crack the top 10, a bit of a reach, but hey, why not? Cristian Kirk finished 38th amongst wide receivers last season. Very interesting, 107 targets. So Kyler now, who's going to be more comfortable in the pocket, going to be more of a comfortable quarterback in general, and that offense is going to be a little more potent, a little more exciting, could end up targeting Cristian Kirk more and putting him into that wide receiver 1 contention.
That's a huge reach as far as cracking the top 10, but I definitely see a big increase in his numbers, or position at least, like finishing 38th, only 3 touchdowns. So that really hurt him last year. You double, triple those touchdowns, which is very easy to do.
Right.
Boom, he's in the game.
He's exciting. So, and we're going to do a whole full sleeper episode. We're going to do a bunch of them as we get close to this season, and it's going to be super exciting. But I just want to talk about guys that could crack the top 10.
Shut up.
All right. So, Tim, is there anything else you want to talk about? Are there any of the guys that'll crack the top 10?
Dude, there's so many that could. Like I say, it's so easy to jump 10 positions when you're talking wide receivers because it's only differentiated by like 20, 30 points in a lot of cases, which is not hard to gain. So, yeah, you can make a case for almost anybody that's listed in the top 40 right now.
Right. So I'm excited, man. Wide receivers really deep. We didn't mention Odell Beckham. Do you think he'll crack the top 10?
He's always got an opportunity. I know you don't like him, but you know what? He's a consistent enough player in a year long. I'm not a big fan of him either. So I'm not going to say crack the top 10. No, but I'm going to say at the right ADP, he's a good pickup.
Why do I dislike Odell Beckham Jr.? I got to tell you, Tim, I got to talk to this camera here and tell you why I dislike him. Because he's a master manipulator. He manipulated you to believe that he's a fantastic, great wide receiver. He manipulated you to believe. He manipulated the sheep, not me. I want to get this straight here, Tim. He manipulated the Kinshipsis to draft him in the first round 3 years in a row. And this is terrible. 3 years in a row, Tim, drafted in the first round. 3 years in a row he busted. And this year he's sitting 11th amongst wide receivers. The Kinshipsis do not learn.
No, you're right. No. When it comes to him, no.
Fool me once, what? Is it shame on me or shame on you? Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, I'm an idiot. It's over. So it's crazy, man. I don't even know what to tell you.
Yeah, like what's going to make him change this year, people? Why? Why do you see the increase? Oh, is Baker going to be that much better? Is it all going to go down this year? No.
I mean, fool me 4 times, it is game over. That's all I got to say about Odell Beckham Jr. So
he's a good pickup at a good ADP. Am I paying a first or second round price on him? No.
No, absolutely not. All right, Tim, that wraps it up. I mean, there's a ton of content coming your way. Smash a thumbs up, click subscribe, leave a comment, and I'm telling you, this is the place to be. The #1 fantasy football podcast, going to be absolutely crushing it for you guys, giving you guys advice that'll help you guys dominate your leagues. My mission, Tim's mission, is for you guys to crush your leagues, not even just win your leagues, but absolutely destroy them.
We do the work so you don't have to.
Is that a new saying now?
No. Just felt like doing something
That
dumb.
sounded very scripted. It sounds almost kind of like...
I got it written right here.
It almost kind of sounds like a home hardware, a home refurbishing kind of store. Or something.
It makes sense. It sounds some familiar.
A home decor store or something like that.
Maybe it was a slogan years ago.
What is it?
I'm just so old.
It's a home decor store. So what is it?
We do the work so you don't have to.
There you go. So yeah, can you refurbish my kitchen cabinets there, Tim? All right, we are out. We will talk soon, guys. Subscribe. And we're back.
Have a good one, everybody.
Talk soon.